Hi class, I wanted to, for this lecture number 7, give you guys a little bit of feedback and a little bit of, and some guidelines for how we're going to do peer review in this class. It can be awkward to do peer review without the workshop atmosphere that some of you may have experienced in Word 110 or in your high school English classes, where you come together and you kind of talk about what you've worked on. We are going to do some of that, but I want to do it all online because you guys are scattered throughout either the city or, in some cases, further afield. So I want to give you guys a chance to get some substantive feedback on how your paper, your rhetorical analysis paper, is going so far from people that care, from your team members. If you remember, this paper is aimed at your team members. You're going to be talking to them about the other stakeholders that they may encounter with this debate. So getting some feedback from them will really help you make a very effective rhetorical argument and make a convincing rhetorical appeal as you go along. Okay, so we're going to go through this. Hopefully this will make sense. As usual, if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so when you're looking at this, you have just a quick overview of peer review. I'm sure you've all done it, but you know, it's useful every once in a while. Peer review can feel like a wasted activity in some courses, and I've experienced this myself as a student and as an instructor, seeing how it can be time that is just busy work and not very useful. So what I want to do in giving you these guidelines is make this as useful as possible. So when you're doing this, try to avoid these things. So when is it useless? When is it kind of busy work to do peer review? When students do not feel like they have enough to offer, do not know enough. Okay? You know enough. You know how to write papers. You've already gotten through Word 110 or at least tested into Word 111. And so you know that much. You've got that knowledge, but you've also written other stuff and you know stuff from the world and from your other classes. You have some authority when it comes to this. You also have authority as someone that's researching a similar topic. So use that. If you're worried that you don't know enough to kind of help someone write, you're not helping them write. You're helping them come finish their ideas and develop their argument. That's the goal of this peer review. All right. This can also feel like a waste of time when students focus on the wrong things, and we're going to talk about that. First and foremost, no editing. Do not edit. All right. You're not correcting the grammar. Okay. Because a teacher, this can also be useless because a teacher does not offer advice on how to effectively comment. We're going to talk about that. And because the assignment does not pay attention to the rhetorical situation. We've talked a lot about the rhetorical situation. I'm not going to go into a lot of it today, but when you're giving advice and asking questions and trying to help your teammates out, then what you want to think about overall is, how do I turn this towards the rhetorical situation for the assignment? All right. You can also pay attention to this as the rhetorical situation for the peer review. Okay. Who are you as the rhetor? You are the reviewer. Who is your audience? The original writer. What's the topic? Their argument. Okay. What's the context? The assignment. Okay. So you can think about it in that terms too and make these more effective. But you can also think about the rhetorical situation of the original assignment. Instead of just writing about, this is good writing, how does it work to make an effective rhetorical analysis? How does it work to make an effective argument? Okay, think about those things. All right. These are, though, very useful activities and assignments, and I hope that this is something that you will find useful yourself. Okay, why is it useful? Because it provides feedback that can help clarify your argument, make it a better case or better analysis. Okay, it provides constructive criticism that can allow your writing to more effectively appeal to your target audience. Again, we're looking at that rhetorical situation, and it stimulates conversations and ideas that help both the author and the reviewer. Okay, especially since you guys are going to be reviewing within your teams, and so you're going to be looking at people that are investigating the same debate, if not the same stakeholder. I hope not the same stakeholder. All right. So offering critical review, okay, instead of just like some thoughts, involves doing more revising than editing. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, editing is checking punctuation and grammatical mistakes. That's editing. This comma needs to be here. This is misspelled, whatever. Okay, that's an editing thing. And most people can do editing on their own, so there's no need to go into it for a peer review. Also, this is a rough draft, and it's pointless to edit a rough draft. Why? Because more than likely the person is going to change that sentence that you are correcting the punctuation for to change the idea behind it, and then they'll rewrite it, and then whatever changes, whatever rewrite is not going to need the same commas in the same place. Okay. You are checking for word choice in editing. You're also checking, offering advice on style alone, not on substance, but on style, on how something is written, not on what it is talking about. That's editing. That's not revising. That's not helping someone make a better draft. That's helping someone polish and fix their draft so it's better for the final day. Not making a better argument, but polishing the way the argument looks. That's what editing does. It's the look of it. Revising, on the other hand, is providing feedback that stimulates more thoughtful analysis. You're trying to get them to think more, okay? Or you're trying to show them where you need more development because you don't understand as the reviewer, okay? It challenges the ideas, arguments in the writing to help an author strengthen or restructure their case, okay? It points out where information analysis is needed, okay? You only look at style and errors as a last resort. Avoid it. Don't worry about it, because the person who you're reviewing should be rewriting this draft and changing a lot of things here and there, and then they will need editing help. If you want to help people edit, you're more than welcome to, but wait until everybody's on their final draft. Don't worry about editing at this stage. Okay. So some advice. Show, don't tell. Show them where the problem is. Show the author, when you are writing a review, show the author where you have questions. Don't just say, overall, it's this, this, and this. Or, I didn't understand what you meant when you said this. Put it next to, put it on that part of the document, and it'll help the original writer and your reader understand, oh, this is what they're talking about. This is where I need to improve. Or this is where I did a great job. Okay? So don't make sweeping statements about the writing. This is great, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You want to be very specific. This part is great. This paragraph is great because I really understand why you're so passionate about this topic. Or this is great because it helps the reader understand blah, 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 blah. Okay? So you want to be very specific, not overly broad, okay? And you want to avoid vague statements like, huh? That doesn't help someone. Well, you want to get specific, okay? After you finish reviewing, take another look at your comments and ask whether or not, could I improve my essay if I saw this same comment? Could I change my essay for the better if I saw this same wording on my paper? Because that's what you're doing. That's the rhetorical situation we're talking about. You're trying to help the reader or the original author improve their writing. So you are trying to make sure it's clear for them what your problem is, or what you don't understand, or what advice you have for them. Very specific so that they can use it. All right. One way to help ensure this is to use the review function. And I don't know what it looks like on Pages, but I know there is one. This is just the MS Word 2016, okay, so the most recent update. You can see all the tabs for all the different things on here, all right? You also see one that says review. Just go to that and you can see how to do this. You can turn on track changes. That's if I want to suggest a new word, okay, I can just type that word in and it'll change the text, but it shows up differently. So it shows up in red here or a different color. You can add comments, and that's where you get something like this bubble if you haven't seen this already, so that you can write a question or whatever else. Okay. You want to use open-ended questions, nothing with a simple one-word answer, because you're trying to, remember, you're trying to provoke thoughtful engagement and improvement, not just yes, no, is this great? Yes. Could it work? Maybe. All right. What you want to do is try to focus on things that will cause someone to think deeper about it. Okay. So the questions allow you to point to areas of confusion or where more information might be needed. Okay. More support. All right. Or more explanation. All right. Remember, they're analyzing the stakeholder text, so maybe you just need a refresher on who the stakeholder is or why it matters. Right? These are all good questions. And if you write it down and put it in a comment, especially tagged to a specific part of the paper, then you've made it much easier for your review or for your reviewee, for the author to improve their paper. Okay. Instead of telling the author what to do, an open-ended question will point where they can help you, the reader. And remember, the reader, you're the audience for this assignment. The assignment is aimed at your team members. Okay. A question prompts the author to think deeper about the issue, and instead of assuming an authoritative role, I know what I'm talking about. I know how best to write this, which you would do if you were not asking questions, but just saying this needs to improve or whatever. When you ask a question, you're simply showing where you, the writer, or the reader rather, could use more help in understanding the essay. Okay. Here are some examples. What did you, blah, 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 what did blah, blah, blah do when she found out about blah, blah, blah? That's an open-ended question, right? It needs more than just a one-word answer. And that's what open-ended means. It just means you have to explain. Right. The other thing you want to do is, so you want to show them specifically where they need to improve, okay, or where you have confusion or where you have questions. So be very specific. You want to use open-ended questions instead of like authoritative statements, and you want to be positive as well. Don't just be negative. Let them know where their writing is effective, okay, where their analysis is working well, where their argument makes sense and is convincing, is persuasive. Put that down there. Let them know. This sentence really works. I like it because blah, 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 blah. Again, just like with before, you want to be very specific. Why does it work? How does it work? Okay. When writers know where they are successful, they can improve other areas of their essay in a similar way. So if I am using good source integration in one part and you say, oh, this works really well, this paraphrase is very convincing, then I know, I get the confidence to know that if a later source I'm not as confident, then in that later source I can do a paraphrase because I know that this worked well before. Right? I hope that makes sense. You can also do it with, the building of an argument, that sort of thing. Letting someone know where they're improving is great. Okay. Some examples of this: I like this because blah, 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 blah. This is a good detail to use here because, and you notice it's because. You want to give a why, not just, otherwise it's a vague general statement. Right. What to avoid: don't edit. All right. Instead, offer suggestions for common word grammar issues only. Common, meaning over the entire paper. All right. Something that they would repeat in future drafts. Don't ask closed questions. Instead, ask 5W plus H. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Okay. And even who is a little bit on the outs of that because that could be a very simple answer. Okay. Don't use broad sweeping claims. Offer suggestions that are anchored in a specific part of the text. And don't be afraid to offer suggestions. You guys are working together to try to improve everybody's essays. And if one person is very tentative, then that person's point of view is not being represented. And they should be. Okay, that's the goal of the assignment. So, I'll skip over that just to make this a little bit quicker. What to look for in the final rough draft, and you should notice that this is up there. But, these are not hard and fast. So if you didn't do this in your rough draft, don't worry about it. Does the rough draft make an argument about how the stakeholder talks about the issue or debate? Is the thesis about an arguable statement about the stakeholder's rhetoric? Because remember, this is a rhetorical analysis. I'm not asking for you to give me a report on who the stakeholder is. This essay is asking for you to analyze how the stakeholder speaks about this topic or this controversy or debate. All right. So when you're looking at your team members' essays, think about that. Think about, does this do what the goal of this essay, of this assignment is? Right? Does the rough draft explore who the stakeholder is and why they are invested in the public debate? That's important background information. You want to put that in there. All right? Does it show why the audience should care about the stakeholder? Does it investigate a stakeholder text, or is it an investigation of the stakeholder alone? That's the key here. You can see that all over the place. Make sure you're looking at a text and how the writer or the stakeholder is using that text. All right. Does it include at least two-cited sources? Are these sources integrated or simply tacked on? All right, tacked on meaning you put them there because you needed two sources, not you put them there because they help your argument. All right. Does the rough draft have at least one supporting image? Okay, remember you need two. Is this figure referenced in the essay? Do you actually talk about, draw the reader's attention to that image? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do for peer review, and I'm going to sign this out, but you want to make at least 3 suggestions or peer review comments per page of your author's rough draft. You want to write a 250 to 400 word message, either email or whatever. You can be submitted to Canvas in the commentary section for peer review. This will be designed to help you give a overall summary of what you thought about the paper. Okay. So summarize the rough draft, including a restatement of the thesis. Okay, that's one of the best things you can do, is to restate the thesis, because if I think the thesis is something and you as the reader see it differently, then I need to readjust how I present the thesis, because I want to make sure that that is very clearly understood. All right. You also want to offer holistic assessment, meaning over the whole thing. All right, not just the anchored stuff. This shouldn't be general, this shouldn't be broad, but it should be something very specific that you saw over the entire paper. And try to make it so that there are 2 areas that could be improved and at least one aspect that the writer did well. One thing that the writer did well. All right. I hope this makes sense. I hope this is useful. If not, again, questions through email or during office hours, either way. And I hope this works for you. So have a good day and take care.